Story 1. I worked at a children's birthday party venue for a couple of years in high school. Many children would cry because they fell, bumped their arm, and so on. I would ask them to shake their foot, jump in a circle, or pretend to blow on their hand so it felt better, then ask if they were ready to play again. This worked like a charm. Bandages for small scrapes helped as well. They thought they were healed and immediately returned to being happy children. Story 2. Your perception of bad luck is biased. The human brain remembers negative experiences more vividly than positive ones. For example, you may think your luck is always awful at toll booths, but in reality you get stuck in traffic only 20 to 50% of the time. Story 3. When I worked and trained in technical support, our agents always got pushback from customers when we asked them to power cycle their phones, which 9 times out of 10 fixed the issue. We had customers read numbers from the back of the battery when batteries were still removable, even though we did not need them. Then we told them we had refreshed a few systems. They put the battery back in and the phone was fixed. When batteries could not be removed, we told customers that if the phone was powered on while we performed the update, it could ruin their subscriber identity module. They made sure to power off their phones. I did nothing. They turned the phone back on and it worked. But if I had told them to power cycle their phones, they would have refused. Story 4. So I'm sure this has happened to other people, but this question reminded me of my principal. During meetings, he uses the school auditorium, and most of the time I, a senior at the school, have to run the sound and lights. He is extremely annoying about it and always asks for his microphone to be turned up when in reality he is already very loud and will damage the speakers. I just pretend to turn it up and ask him if it is good. He speaks and says, "That's perfect, thank you." He seems to think I am doing an amazing job and might bring me a soda for handling the meetings for half the day. It is the greatest placebo I have ever used on others. Story 5. When you give your younger sibling an unplugged controller after they kept asking to join the game. Story 6. When I do commission creative work, delivering it the same day or the next makes people think I did not spend enough time on it. If I wait 3 days to deliver, they assume I worked nonstop, even though I finished a day or two earlier. Story 7. Loading spinners on web pages. I once had a user complain that a web application was too slow, although it was fairly fast. To test him, I increased the spinner animation speed considerably. He then told my boss how much faster the web application seemed. I was using the Spin JavaScript library. Story 8. I install semi-truck bumpers. 90% of the time, a customer will say it looks off by 1/8 of an inch. I will make a noise with the impact gun on a bolt and say, "How is that?" The customer replies, "Yes, it looks great." Nothing moved whatsoever. Some guys are extremely critical, I guess. Story 9. My dog's medicine came out of his treat tin instead of the medicine packaging. A medicine that tasted disgusting seconds ago now mysteriously tastes like a treat. Story 10. As a former lifeguard, I can assure you that whatever cleanup you see lifeguards doing after someone vomits in the pool is almost certainly just for show. There is not really anything you can do. You let the filter and chlorine take care of it and pretend to clean to reassure parents. Story 11. I sold Christmas trees when I was in junior and senior high school. I learned a trick for very fussy customers who made me hold up multiple trees for them. After the 10th or so tree, I'd yell to my coworker, "Hey Mike, if they don't want this one, put it aside for me. Nicest tree I've seen this year." It worked like a charm. Story 12. The original Febreze was unscented, but nobody believed it worked, so the company added a scent. Story 13. Many psychology tips and tricks you see online have no scientific proof, but they work because people believe they do. This is how I actually live my life. I tell myself things like these and use the placebo effect to change my mindset or mood. You all should try it. It works. Story 14. How long does a Coinstar machine take to process and count coins and return a receipt? It finishes so quickly that people are skeptical of the accuracy. A built-in delay with simulated counting noises was added to give people more confidence in the results. Story 15. Not sure if it is really a placebo effect, but there is research on how a car door should sound when you close it. A flat, boring pank sound would suffice. But many people find that a soft, Plush yet firm shrump sound reassures them that the door is closed. Please provide a better description of car doors closing. Mine is not good. Story 16. I swear my car performs better immediately after it is cleaned. Story 17. Free shipping is presented as a better deal. It usually means the seller has added the shipping cost into the product price, but you feel you received a better deal. Story 18. Beats headphones contain weights to make them heavier and create the impression of quality and durability. Story 19. When cake mixes first came out, you only had to add water. Many housewives felt that was cheating and would not buy them. So cake mix companies added another step. Eggs. It worked. The cracking and adding of eggs to the batter was enough to make the cakes feel more homemade, and cake mixes became extremely popular. Story 20. I'm not sure if it still does this, but at one time Google Docs intercepted the Ctrl+S shortcut and briefly changed the cursor to the thinking cursor, such as an hourglass or a beach ball, depending on your computer. You do not need to save Google Docs. They automatically save every change to the server, but people are used to saving manually. Story 21. I read an article about how Apple Music reduced randomness in shuffle. People complained that the same artist would play again soon, so the service changed its algorithm to avoid selecting another song by the same artist until after several other songs. Story 22. Some vacuum cleaners, microwaves, and cars use exaggerated sounds to appear more powerful. Some applications display loading screens to give the impression they are performing complex tasks. Story 23. Colleges care more about what you say on Twitter and Facebook than what you said to Dakota in 3rd grade. The only time it matters is if you transfer within the district. Story 24. Bubbles in cleaning products. Early soap formulations naturally form suds. Newer formulations can clean better but do not naturally produce suds. The bubbling was an incidental side effect and does not affect cleaning. When these newer soaps were first introduced, people complained they did not work because they did not produce many bubbles. Manufacturers began adding a chemical solely to generate bubbles, which did not help with cleaning, and the complaints stopped. To this day, the association of bubbles with cleanliness is strong enough that manufacturers still do this. Most cleaning products, including toothpaste, foam when used, and in almost every case the foam is pure marketing. Story 25. Car doors should close quietly, but they are designed to close loudly so you feel safe. Story 26. It is not uncommon to have a loading screen or icon displayed during queries, sometimes because the average user does not expect the result to be this quick. Websites may introduce intentional lag when users sign up or during payment processing. I sometimes write code. Story 27. Airport security. Department of Homeland Security inspectors were able to get illegal items through Transportation Security Administration checkpoints 70% of the time. Story 28. That minty, zesty, clean feeling you get from toothpaste started as a marketing strategy and caught on. Now almost all toothpaste is mint because we associate minty freshness with cleanliness. Ah shucks, silver. Thanks, everyone. It's my first. I had no idea so many people hated mint. Story 29. Milky or opaque white moisturizing body wash is the same as clear body wash. It is not more moisturizing. It only contains white pigment. Because it is not clear, people associate it with lotion and assume it is better for the skin. I am not saying moisturizing body wash does not work, but you should not assume something is more moisturizing just because it is white. A friend who works at a large cosmetics company said the only difference between their regular and cream cleansers is white pigment. Instead of judging by color, check for gentle cleansing agents and ingredients such as panthenol or oils. Story 30. Studies have shown that people think wine tastes better if it costs more, but in blind taste tests very few people, even experienced wine drinkers, can distinguish between bottles that cost about $15 to $20 and expensive wine. Story 31. Turkey does not contain enough tryptophan to make you sleepy. You are most likely tired because you ate too much and your body is in the rest and digest mode. The effect is a placebo. People feel sleepy after a large turkey meal for the same reasons they do after an equivalent chicken meal. The association is conditioned in American culture by overeating at Thanksgiving. Story 32. Drinking Canada Dry Ginger Ale helps with an upset stomach. The company was sued because the ginger ale contained no ginger. That was the only thing that helped when I had the stomach flu as a child. I had it often. Story 33. When my younger brother was a child, the doctor told him that sitting on a grocery bag would keep him from getting sick in the car. The real trick, of course, was that if he did get sick, he would have a bag to throw up into. He is in his 20s now, and he still does not believe me that it was just a trick because it worked. Story 34. When people talk about lice, everyone starts to feel itchy. Story 35. Who else mashed the down and a buttons on the Nintendo DS or Game Boy when they were trying to catch a new Pokemon? Story 36. I install commercial audiovisual systems. On bigger, more involved jobs like stadiums and arenas, we have audiovisual consultants who do not work for my company but are an important link in the chain with respect to designing and equalizing the finished system. I do not know how many times I have been up in an 80-foot boom lift and they have wanted the azimuth or down angle of a speaker adjusted by some ridiculously small amount. So you get back up there, bang a couple of wrenches on the speaker, and do not actually move anything. How is that? Oh yeah, that sounds better. Works every time. Story 37. Using gasoline with an octane rating higher than the manufacturer's recommendation usually does not improve performance. Octane rating is not a measure of how much energy is in the fuel. It measures resistance to predetonation or knocking. If the manufacturer specifies 87 octane, putting 91 or 93 in the vehicle makes no difference. The engine control unit cannot detect that a higher octane fuel is being used. It can only detect that a lower octane fuel might be in use via the knock sensor. If the sensor detects knocking or pinging, the engine control unit will retard ignition timing to eliminate it, and that reduces engine power. The fuel map used by the engine control unit is calibrated for a specific octane rating. High-performance engines have higher compression ratios and more aggressive timing, so they require higher octane. If the owner's manual says the engine requires premium, use it. If it recommends premium, regular can be used unless the vehicle is under heavy load. Do not pay 15% more for fuel solely because the car feels like it runs better on premium. Story 38. When I repair a smartphone or computer, if a job takes 10 minutes or less, customers often refuse to pay the agreed price and try to haggle because the work was quick. I let them wait 25 to 30 minutes, and then they pay willingly. Story 39. When I worked a catering gig at my university, everyone eating off fancy plates at sit-down dinners in the ballrooms, such as fundraisers, receptions, and other formal dinner occasions, was eating the same bulk, commercial-grade food that was served in the dorms. They would tell us to give their compliments to the chef. Lady, the only difference between your $40 fancy reception plate pork chop and my $4 cafeteria pork chop was that mine came on a paper plate. I happen to know where the chef gets his choice cuts. Aramark Food Services, just like everyone else. But you put that food on a delicate plate with gold on the edges, and they think it is the most wonderful thing they have eaten all year. Story 40. A lot of cold prevention medications like Cold FX and similar products have been tested and were often found to be little more than sugar pills. Vitamin gummy bears were studied and are often not much different from regular gummy candies. They frequently contain fewer vitamins than stated. Products that claim to improve hair and nails may seem effective because of the gelatin they contain. Clarification. Some gummies are better than others. My understanding is that it is usually better to take an actual vitamin pill or to eat foods higher in the vitamin you need. Many gummies contain processed sugar and are a less healthy option. You do not have to completely write them off, but many make false claims. Story 41. For men, shaving the beard does not make hair grow back thicker. Shaving only causes hair to regrow at the same rate, creating the illusion of increased thickness. This applies to all hair. Women also encounter similar fallacies. I was referring specifically to beard thickness when I wrote the original comment. Story 42. Branded painkillers are usually identical to cheaper versions and work just as well. Story 43. The roller coaster clicking sound on the lift hill is not necessary anymore. It used to prevent trains from rolling back if the chain snapped, but technology has advanced and the mechanism could be silent. Still, the sound is perfect preparation for the ride. Story 44. You are not acting like an insane person because you ate sugar. Story 45. The idea that drinking orange juice shortly before bed will keep you from sleeping because of the vitamin C is questionable. The same people who say it keeps them awake eat raw tomatoes for dinner all summer and never complain about sleeping problems, even though tomatoes contain more vitamin C than a glass of orange juice. Story 46. Multi-level marketing companies make people feel successful when, in fact, they are losing money. Story 47. Dear Xbox users, repeatedly pressing the A button does not speed up loading screens. You may not like it, but that is the truth. Story 48. Homeopathy. My mom is a homeopath, and I do not subscribe to it at all. Please save your judgments, I am not here to discuss that, but I have seen her help many people with minor to moderate afflictions. While the medicine does not work, the patients believe it does. This, together with sitting down for an hour with someone who listens to all of your problems and ailments in detail and takes much more interest in their life than a normal general practitioner would, leads to a belief that they will get better. I believe the psychological support they receive often helps, especially for problems exacerbated by stress. Also, any homeopath who is not a bad person does not try to treat mental illness or life-threatening conditions that require real medical care, and will tell the patient this. Story 49. Hedon. Apply directly to the forehead. Story 50. This is somewhat an anti-placebo effect. Monosodium glutamate is not harmful. Multiple blind studies suggest that consuming it does not produce negative reactions, but simply believing you have consumed it can cause headaches. Story 51. The airplane that mommy feeds you. I don't think it's really one. Story 52. Astronomer here. Police and hospital workers may disagree, but despite numerous studies, no significant correlation has been found between increased erratic behavior and the full moon. People simply notice when there is a full moon and remember busy nights. They do not note the phase of the moon when it is a new moon and there is literally no moon in the sky. Note, for those who blame the moon's gravity, the moon's pull on you is far less than the pull from a person standing next to you. A doctor standing beside you exerts more gravitational effect on your body than the moon does. Tides occur because of vast scales. Your body is insignificant compared to an ocean. Story 53. I remember a riddle my professor told us a few months ago. A building was receiving complaints that passengers waiting in the lobby felt the elevators took too long and asked that they be faster. How would you fix that? Add more elevators? Increase their speed? Neither. The solution was to add mirrors in the lobbies. The mirrors distracted customers from their awareness of how much time had passed, creating a sense that the wait was shorter. Story 54. By the way, do not be scared by these. It is proven that even if you know it is a placebo, it still works. Story 55. When guests complain that the beer doesn't taste good because they think it's from the bottom of the keg, I replace their beer with the same beer, and they swear it's better. Story 56. Homeopathy is a placebo. Some mixtures do not contain a single atom of the original substance. They are 100% sugar water. Story 57. I do not know if this is commonly known, but there is a procedure called sham surgery. Surgeons cut open part of the body and then stitch it back up without performing the intended therapeutic intervention. Many patients report improved results. In other words, the brain is tricked into believing the pain is gone. Story 58. In an audio test, audiophiles listened to audio files played through high-fidelity audio cables versus coat hanger metal and could not tell the difference between the two types of wire. Story 59. Period synchronization. Every woman I have ever met says it is a thing, but the data show it is not. Different people have slightly different cycles, so they go in and out of sync over time. It is similar to the blinkers of multiple cars stopped at a light. Story 60. When I was a waitress 100 years ago, customers asked me all the time to turn the heat up or down because they were too hot or too cold. I would say, "Oh yes, definitely. Let me take care of that for you." Then I would stand in the back, drink some water, and return to the table to tell them I had adjusted the temperature. It worked every single time. Edit. I did not literally waitress 100 years ago. I was exaggerating because I am old. Story 61. I have psoriasis and have been on at least half a dozen biologic medications that treat the condition by blocking either T lymphocytes or a specific immune system protein. They work well for me for a while, but they take time to produce results. This is by design. The psoriasis subreddit is full of people who get their first injection and the next day post pictures claiming a miraculous transformation. Story 62. As an information technology professional, giving a user a new monitor will make them swear their computer is faster. Edit. This received far more attention than I expected. I have not worked in technical support for over a decade. My comment comes from the late 1990s, when users were using compact mini towers and could not get over the switch from cathode ray tube monitors to liquid crystal display monitors. The change from a 4:3 aspect ratio to a 16:9 aspect ratio was life-changing. This observation had nothing to do with refresh rate, which became a consideration later. Story 63. I may be late to the party, but never discount the placebo effect. Anything that reduces the body's stress response will boost healing. When people say stress will kill you, they are not joking. Stress weakens the immune system and suppresses many bodily functions. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.